Well, what we are going to do is we are going to just kind of start popping down through this little list. If this is way too basic and you're like, move on, please just tell me. You need to just tell me, okay? So what I'm going to plan on doing, just so everybody kind of knows, if I click on help and then I go to the steps to success, we're going to just lightly start going down through some of these different pieces and then kind of getting clear into the players and the customers and the inventory and the sales and the deposits, expenses, reports and searching, financials, and tools. So that's kind of a quick overview. I know that's relatively quick, but here's where we're going to start. The first one is called, what is Adilas? Now, Adilas is a great little program. Basically, it's a mix of a number of different things. And I'm going to switch to this map setting. Adilas is based, each corporation gets a number of pieces. And what happens is each piece is what we call a location. And then locations can actually be stacked. I'm going to grab a little drawing tool right here really quick so that I can just kind of show you. But basically what we do is we have one location is required. If you need multiple locations, you could actually add as many as you wanted and the whole application will scale. Okay? Some of the neat things that we have, this is just a small little interface as far as what we have to offer to the different people. I'm going to scroll down just a little bit on my particular document so you can see. I'm going to switch back to my arrow tool and we'll just drop down. But what we have is we have things called sales, inventory tracking, and POS. So both Ray does, he's from Tubes and Hoses. They create custom hydraulic hoses. And what they do is they have a whole bunch of different pieces and then he basically builds hoses on the fly. So somebody will call him and be like, hey, I need XYZ hose built, and then he will basically pull pieces in and sometimes even hide line items. Like say for instance, he has a labor charge that's $100 and some odd. Ray might be like, they might freak if they saw that, but they're totally fine to pay the $250 for the hose, but if they don't want to see that $100 labor charge. And so he will bill it out and then he'll stack little hidden line items under there so we can see it. Sandy, they actually are at Highlands Vineyard Liquor Store in Denver, Colorado area. And so basically they do high volume retail. And so Sandy comes in and say for instance one of her husband is John and they're at the liquor store and getting things just all the time. They have hundreds and hundreds of invoices. People will come in and buy this and that. They actually take things and mix and blend. So they buy cases and then they split them and then they do different, all sorts of stuff. So very high-end retail type oriented businesses. And Cheryl, that's here in the class, she's looking to actually do some herbal supplements. She basically has her own homegrown thing, and she loves to tinker. She's a recipe and a seamstress, and she loves to do homemade, and so she's going to be kind of doing that type of thing. And Shannon is a student at school, and so we'll be messing around. What I wanted to say was sales and inventory tracking, a huge portion. The roots of Adilas is where it started, was actually in the dealership industry. Trailers, vehicles, all that kind of stuff like that. So we deal a lot with sales and inventory tracking. Another piece that we deal with is the customer relationship management and scheduling. I kind of outlined in green some of the different places, and if you were to slide up, you would actually see what those pieces are that we're actually dealing with there. We do online expense tracking, which basically helps you get your pieces into the system. Where's your money going? Where did it come from? Who do we owe? That type of stuff. That's online expense tracking. Business intelligence is kind of a key word. It's basically a buzzword, a modern buzzword. And what it is basically like, where am I at? One of the neat things about Adilas is because it's such a huge piece of the puzzle, you're basically able to kind of say, what do I have where and where is it? The important thing is once you learn where you're putting these pieces, you can then go and find it. It's pretty cool. Coming down a little bit below that, histories and reports is a huge piece for Adilas. Creating data relationships. This might sound advanced, but basically what this allows you to do is a custom solution to Adilas. We provide a certain standalone piece, and if you need more, you basically are able to add on to that and connect things as you need to. We have back-end office and accounting functions. Sandy, who's online here, she actually does a bunch of this for Highlands Vineyard. And so basically, if you have any questions, Sandy, please go ahead and ask as we're in this class, okay? We have some payroll and time cards. Basically, people can clock in and out, and then you can actually track that through there and calculate the federal and state withholdings, and you can kind of do that type of stuff. And then down at the bottom, we have the whole thing kind of circled, because what you get with Adilas is basically the whole deal, the complete package. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of come back to the map, and we are going to basically be building from the ground up. I'm going to switch screens, so instead of being on this document, I'm actually going to go to one that has links on it. We're going to go ahead back to the map, okay? So basically what we're going to do is I'm going to start at the very bottom of the map, and we're going to kind of just work up, and I'm going to bounce around a little bit so that you can see what's happening. The very bottom of the map is basically, it's going to end up being a full-on application that's going to be interactive, and you're going to be able to click on it. But for right now, what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of show you some of the neat things. At the very, very bottom here, there's a view. So if you wanted to, you could actually say, hey, what did we do last month? And you can just click on it, and it instantly takes you to a history report. What do we have for invoices, POs, expenses, customers, customer logs? It gives you names, numbers. That's a great little way to use the bottom of this thing. It's quick information. You can quickly just jump right to what you're looking for. Okay, let's start at the very, very bottom, location and tax settings. So once again, I'm in a playground right here, but basically each application is based on a location, okay? So we have a corporation, that's kind of your business entity, and within that you can have multiple locations if you need to. But I'm going to click on this just so you can kind of see the locations and tax settings. To add a new location, there's a very simple way. You could just click Add. You could pop through the little thing. This top part deals with the physical store or location levels. You then get into some of the tax settings as far as what are the taxes, how do they apply. There's a number of different tax settings.
Okay, I have a question about the location.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so the location, is that a business, or can the location be a business with multiple locations? Both, or
Okay.
only one?
Very good question, very good question. And so what happens is your corporation is the bigger umbrella, okay? And you got to realize that the corporation it's the main container. Within that, you can have as many locations as you want. And sometimes when you say the word location, you think physical brick and mortar. You could technically turn this into departments in a heartbeat if you wanted to, okay? Like, okay, this is my this, and this is my this, and this is my this. Like, for instance, for your home stuff, say your one entity is, hey, Cheryl's home stuff, okay? Whatever it might be. What you could do is you could actually create a little location, and this could be your recipes and the stuff that you're selling. Then you could create another one that actually does some of the seamstress. It depends on how you do it for your taxes, okay? How many EINs do you have, like official tax numbers? That's a corporation level. And if you need to, you could easily have multiple corporations. It's easy to bounce between the corporations. You just basically click on the switch corp, click, and then you could bounce right to, one of the different corporations if you needed to. Let's go back to locations and tax settings. Okay, so here's one that already exists. If I don't like the name headquarters, it's a piece of cake. I can basically click on the headquarters. It pulls up my information, and if I don't like it, what if I just said testing, and I came down and I submitted that. As soon as you make a thing, it automatically records itself in Adilas, and it now cascades out throughout the entire thing. So if I were to go check an invoice that I had previously done to headquarters, guess where the location would say it was at now? Testing, okay? It's what's called a one-to-many relationship. We change it one spot, it basically virtually cascades itself into the other pieces, okay? I'm going to go ahead and just change it back to headquarters. Actually, real quick before I do that, I'm just going to really quick jump into an invoice just so you can see that it actually says testing all around. Like I haven't rechanged it back yet. So currently here's invoice number 100. Once again, this is just a play site, but it'll now say, hey, I'm in the testing location. It automatically passes that around all over the place. The word location is also what we call a corp-wide setting, and we will get into that later. But I'm going to just hit back a couple times, and I'm going to actually change this back to HQ now. And I hit my enter key, and basically what that's going to do is actually make it submit so that the page will be submitted. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, any questions on tax settings really quick as far as on the other part of a location? You have state, county, city. We also allow 5 custom options. And so what happens here is often certain municipalities and cities, they'll be like, okay, you need to charge 6 point something for state, and you need to charge 2% for county and 2% for this. And sometimes there's extra special taxes. You can put them in here. What you would do is you would basically, just for an example, I'm just going to call it example tax. And then you would basically put the percentage in. Say it was 2. And so you basically would just go 2. And then what is that going to be applied to? That's going to be to normal products, unlimited, and rentals. And then maybe you leave everything else out. I'm just kind of showing you how you would do that, and then you would basically say edit the location, and then it would actually then apply. One thing about taxes that's kind of important, it is not retroactive. So if I have the 100 invoices or whatever that have already happened, if I apply a new tax, it doesn't automatically push itself backwards. Okay, that's called retroactive. It basically only goes from there forward. So that's kind of nice. But you have a ton of different options. And say you had a certain tax that you needed to collect on your parts and widgets or your inventory items, but not on something like, say you had a bigger ticket item. You basically just create the custom ones and just assign them to the different pieces that they need to. So I'm going to hit back, and we're going to basically go all the way back to the map. If I need to go fast, I can click this little button right here. This is called my quick back button. Basically, it gives me a history of what I was looking at. So we were basically just talking about the location and tax settings.